Thank you very much.
Professor Uriel Reichman,
the president and founder of the IDC Herzliya, and I'm very proud that Adi graduated from here and more is still studying here. Mr. Shabtai Shavit, the chairman of the board of directors of ICT at the IDC Herzliya and former director of the Mossad. Her Excellency Ambassador Hélène Lagal, the Ambassador of the Republic of France to Israel, and Deputy Ambassador Tony Kay, Deputy Ambassador, Deputy Head of Mission United Kingdom, Colonel John Kenkel, the U.S. Army Attaché to the United States of Israel, and Lieutenant Colonel Brent Lindman, United States Army War College Fellow. In September 2001, the 9th of 9/11, we're talking about those 4 planes that were hijacked and crashed into the buildings, was an event that really was a watershed moment for all. It showed so many horrific events, and there were a plethora of victims. The 11th of September was an escalation in terror, and it brought out an additional escalation in the way the world viewed terror. It brought about an entire all-embracing world campaign against the radical Islam, and it also marked the beginning of the clash of civilizations. In the United States, that terror attack tangibly substantiated the fact that no one is immune to it. The United States is also vulnerable, and that vulnerability of an open society, a democratic one, can be to terror. These attacks actually accentuated the need for intelligence and the importance of the collaboration and cooperation between the various agencies and the enforcement between countries and in countries. It showed the many faces of terror and that one cannot actually forecast any attack in advance. Those horrific events on 9/11 showed the centrality and the importance of that security at airports. In the months after it, many aviation specialists have come to Israel to try and learn about our security regulations and how things are run. It really showed the importance of the coalitions. The coalition, for example, that the United States led against the ISIL during the last years, which significantly brought about the eradication in those geographic core issues in Syria and Iraq. The fight against terror must also demand some kind of steps against those countries who are creating a haven and financing terror, and or perhaps supplying logistics and help. For example, the Iranian regime, for example, President Donald Trump has always said that they have spread their wings around those who are financing terror. They are arming the Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Islamic Jihad, the Palestinian one in the Gaza Strip, and in so many other places in the Middle East. The Iranian regime and the Revolutionary Guard, with its militia outside as well, Baghdadi and others, they know that they have established themselves, economically speaking and financially, military speaking, through the Iranian proxies in Syria, through the Shiites as well, and they're all ready and armed against Israel. In order to curb the Iranian influence and to actually dry up that quagmire here, we need to create a coalition between the pragmatic Sunni countries in this region. In order to do that, with your permission, I would like to present to you our peace tracks in this region, which I am promoting with the help of our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, with a 3-minute film that will present it, because we all know that one picture is worth 1,000 words. So the screen will unroll.
Tracks for Regional Peace, the Regional Land Bridge and Hub Initiative. The Regional Land Bridge and Hub Initiative is a groundbreaking rail transport initiative connecting the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. The initiative is based on two central ideas: Israel as a land bridge and Jordan as a regional transportation hub. A regional rail network would be used to transport cargo and, in the future, people as well, between the U.S., Europe, and the Mediterranean in the west, and Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states in the east. The initiative will create regional trade routes that are shorter, faster, cheaper, and safer, and contribute to the economies of Jordan, the Palestinian Authority, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf states, and in the future, Iraq as well. It will also increase the activity in Israel's ports and energize Israel's economy. Railway infrastructure, which already exists in Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf, will allow the initiative to be implemented in a relatively short time. The Valley train line, based on the historic Hijaz Railway connecting Haifa with Bet Shean, was reopened in 2016. The line will be extended eastward to the Sheikh Hussein border crossing with Jordan and southward to the Jalami crossing in the Jenin area, where the Palestinians will also be able to connect to it, going west as well as east to Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf, stimulating economic growth and employment in the Palestinian Authority. A large, modern inland port would be built in Jordan to handle regional trade, providing value-added services and contributing significantly to the Jordanian economy. The Saudi railway system already includes a north-south line which connects the Jordanian-Saudi border with the Persian Gulf. The forecasted growth in regional trade is expected to make the initiative profitable within a decade. The main causes for the expected growth in regional trade include the forecasts for renewed rapid economic growth, development of new export sectors in Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, and the reconstruction of the Iraqi economy. The potential trade flows via the land bridge are expected to reach $250 billion by the year 2030, 4 times the current value of the trade handled by Israeli ports. Trade traffic via the overland route railway will also bypass the security threats emanating from Iran and the Straits of Hormuz and the Bab al-Mandab. From a strategic viewpoint, the initiative could strengthen the region's pragmatic camp. Public and private sector collaboration is essential for realizing this initiative, which will change the region, strengthen economies, contribute to stability, and promote peace. The Tracks for Regional Peace initiative is necessary, desirable, and possible.
This initiative is realistic from a transport and financial point of view and is based on the actual position of the historical Israel, something that we didn't invent. But during the Ottoman Empire, there was a train. It was called the Hijazi train line, and that's part of the actual train line in the valley. And on the other side of it was also the historic path with that connection between Europe and the other continents, United States, with the continents through Jordan, that will become a central hub. And of course, that will be able to reinforce that area as well. And Saudi Arabia, I think that this is a fact. The system in the Saudi Arabian actually region does exist already, the basis of it. And in Jordan, we now need to connect Beit Sha'an to the Sheikh Hussein crossing, and in Jordan itself, 200 kilometers all the way to the border of Saudi Arabia. And there's a fantastic economic security logic underlying all this financially, but also it will truly strengthen this link and the axis which will oppose the one that Iran is building. All of these, it will also reinforce the security. It will overcome those difficulties. So we are now convening with all those people who are responsible for it. There is a blessing for that journey from the other side without me going into detail here. A true initiative that is being promoted, and that could really make significant changes in the entire ties of the people in the area. This is an initiative that I also presented when I spoke about those islands opposite Gaza. How can we actually truly combat terror? So when we aspire for a future viable peace, how can we do in the interim something that would be really create some kind of resilience and establish ourselves based on what exists? And we can create whole setups and systems that would improve significantly things that are in the twain. And those are the kind of decisions that we need to adopt during this period. If it's security, and until we reach peace, then we'll be able to complement everything that is happening. And I am delighted that through this initiative, with the full coordination, fully fledged coordination with the Prime Minister's office and other factors around the world. And as I said, there is something that we can, that would truly help us dry up that quagmire that we find ourselves in, and this will help from every aspect possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the following day after we have eradicated ISIL in Iraq, we need to now curb Iran. We need to now actually push what they are doing backwards. We need to help them rid their ties with the terrorists. And in the nuclear agreement, the JCPOA, and the reimposing of sanctions are very important in this context, because those economic sanctions in the past were effective in the past, and they are now, because you can already sense there, if we talk about the Iranian rial, I mean, we can see how their implementation has been realistic. If you look at that deterioration now of their rial, of the currency, we can already sense it. It has truly collapsed, and foreign companies are leaving, and everything is in dire straits. So they're not calling out and saying, let us blame others. No, they realize that the Iranian people must understand, and they will be able somehow to fight against an oppressive regime, because since the uprising many years ago, they have been building double systems. If we're talking the Basij, for example, we don't want the actual police and the Basij to fight against the people, because we don't want the army to act against the people, but only to fight for those principles. After all, these were principles that this ancient people truly believed in. So they have to see things together. So Israel and the United States must walk together, determined, shoulder to shoulder, and understand exactly what our red lines are. For example, the establishment of Iran in Syria, it was only now reported, and I can actually quote that over the last 2 years, Israel has acted 200 times in a military manner in Syria itself. It has only now been allowed to be published. In other words, that crossing of the red line, and what Iran has been trying to do against Israel in Syria. In other words, that understanding that is permeating to such a level with the Iranian allies as well. In other words, the moment they strive to establish themselves in a military point of view in Syria, they must be ready to face what can happen. There's an Iranian, the Revolutionary Guard, want to convert Sunnis and Alawites in Syria, convert them to Shiites. This is activity and sort of subversive activity that is being carried out. It is called educationally missionary work. It is being financed by the Iranians. Of course, the secular Alawite Syrian regime does not like this at all, and the Russians will not be happy to see the Iranians building airports and ports within Syria, first and foremost because they themselves are there, but also this will destabilize something that they are trying to create. Yes, there are two axes. We have our own axis together with the United States and, of course, with those countries that are opposed to the Shiite terror axis of Iran. But on the other axis, there are differences in our hues and shades and aims. So together with the kinetic execution of work that we are doing, but we are trying to achieve those aims so that we will distance with the economic help of the United States. We are trying to distance the Iranians so that they will step back from Syria, and we see tremendous importance embedded in that in order to prevent terror. Everything that Iran is doing, which definitely is considered terror. And as I said, all this creates an opportunity to curb Iran and its proxies in the region and achieve that massive support that we do not want, that they feel that they are giving, and we do not want it in Syria. So I wish you all and your families a truly good Jewish New Year.